A hug is never just a hug. It is the moment her inner world leaks into yours, a language her body speaks before her mouth ever does. Many men underestimate this because they focus on words, texts, or gestures, thinking that is where truth resides. They overlook the fact that a woman's body tells a story her lips often cannot. The softness in her arms, the warmth in her chest, the brief hesitation before she lets go, they all speak louder than any sentence she could construct. This is her truth in motion, and it carries more information than most men will ever notice. When a woman wraps herself around you, her nervous system is reading yours in a flash. Every breath you take, every shift of your weight, every micro-expression your face reveals, she feels it. Her hug is her mind and heart collaborating in an unspoken message. Do I feel safe? Do I trust this man? Do I want more closeness? Even if her words are calm, her body communicates with unfiltered honesty. That moment of contact is a mirror reflecting how she truly feels about you, and for men who aren't trained to notice, it can be bewildering. This truth is not about manipulation or trickery, it's instinctual. Women are wired to express feelings through their bodies, especially when words have been taught to stay hidden. A fleeting squeeze, a lingering press of her hands on your back, or the way her chest aligns with yours, all of these are subconscious admissions of attraction, curiosity, longing, or caution. The hug is her emotional voice, unfiltered, raw, and unavoidable. It's why some hugs linger in a man's memory long after the encounter has ended. It's not about the physical sensation alone, it's about the emotional revelation. Men who can recognize this truth have an advantage. They see beyond the surface. They understand that hesitation, softness, or firmness is not random. It is her emotional temperature, her subconscious message, and her level of investment. Feeling it, instead of rationalizing it away, is what transforms a simple embrace into a bridge of understanding. It allows a man to connect at a level words alone cannot reach, because in that hug she is showing who she is, how she feels, and how she perceives him. To miss this is to miss the story she is telling. A hug is not casual. It's a declaration, a test, and a map of her emotions all at once. Her body is brave enough to reveal truths. Her mind is still processing, truths she may be scared to admit, even to herself. Men who understand this realize that every hug has a meaning, every contact carries information, and every subtle shift matters. It is here, in this fleeting connection, that her emotional reality becomes visible. To read it, to feel it, to respond with presence rather than logic, that is where true understanding begins. A woman rarely hugs a man she feels nothing for. Even a hug that looks casual, friendly, or polite carries layers of meaning, subtle signals that reveal her true emotions long before any words are spoken. Many men overlook this because they assume a hug is simply physical contact, a routine gesture, a social courtesy. But to a woman, every hug is an extension of her emotional state, a brief window into her heart and mind. She may smile, pull back, or keep her arms loose, but her body is never lying. Even when she believes she is being neutral, her nervous system communicates constantly, and her hug reflects exactly how she feels about the person she is touching. When she chooses to wrap her arms around you, even briefly, her body is making a decision in an instant. It's evaluating trust, attraction, curiosity, and comfort without her conscious mind intervening. That touch is a subtle, unspoken message. She is opening herself to the possibility of connection, or she is testing boundaries to see how safe and grounded you are emotionally. The way her hands fall on your back, the pressure she applies, and the angle of her chest are all coded expressions of feeling. Men who are unaware of this tend to miss the truth entirely, dismissing the hug as meaningless while her body has already told them everything they need to know. Even a quick, light hug can carry significant meaning. It may indicate hesitation, a protective boundary, or uncertainty, but it also shows engagement, willingness to connect, and curiosity about your presence. A longer, firmer hug communicates trust, comfort, and emotional safety, signals that her subconscious has decided you are someone she can relax with, at least in that moment. And when her hug lingers just slightly longer than necessary, it is rarely random. It is her way of quietly exploring her feelings, testing the closeness she wants, but is afraid to admit. These small, often unnoticed details are the secret language of attraction and emotional investment that most men are never taught to read. Understanding this principle changes everything. It means recognizing that hugs are more than gestures. They are statements. They are her body declaring whether she feels drawn, safe, uncertain, or protective. A man who observes these signals learns not only how she feels in the present moment, but also how she perceives him overall. Each hug is a reflection of her judgment, her subconscious evaluation of your emotional energy, and her willingness to let you in. It is here in these subtle movements and pressures that attraction, caution, curiosity, and desire are expressed. The truth is, most men underestimate the depth of what a hug can convey. They focus on words, overanalyze statements, and ignore the most honest form of communication she is offering. Every casual hug, every lingering squeeze, every slight pullback carries meaning. It is a woman's way of revealing her inner world without having to say it aloud, a language that only a man who is fully present and aware can understand. Recognizing that she rarely hugs without feeling something gives clarity to interactions, revealing her unspoken intentions and the emotional reality that lies beneath the surface. This knowledge is powerful because it transforms a simple embrace into insight. When a man understands that even a brief hug is meaningful, he begins to read her feelings, respect her boundaries, and appreciate the silent truths she communicates. It is in this understanding that men gain connection, presence, and influence, not through manipulation, but through awareness of the signals she is already giving. Every hug is a mirror of her emotions, a silent disclosure, and a subtle invitation. And recognizing this changes the way men see women, relationships, and intimacy itself. A hug is never just physical contact, it is a test, a quiet measurement of a man's emotional presence. Women use hugs to sense the energy of the person they are embracing, to understand who you are beyond what you say, beyond what your words promise. They are scanning for confidence, for groundedness, for emotional stability. In a fraction of a second, her body reads yours in ways your mind may never notice. She feels tension, hesitation, distraction, or calmness. She senses whether your presence is steady or shaky, whether you are fully in the moment or preoccupied with thoughts elsewhere. A hug, in this sense, is her subconscious evaluating if you are someone safe to connect with, someone she can trust, someone she can let her guard down around. This test is not conscious. She isn't thinking, let me evaluate him now. Her nervous system does it automatically. Every micro movement, every subtle pressure, every shift of her hands or the angle of her body is her body responding to yours. If you are confident, grounded, and present, she will relax, mirror your energy, and allow herself to lean in. If you are anxious, distracted, or overthinking, her body instinctively maintains distance, protects itself, and signals caution. A quick, stiff hug, a hands-off approach, or a chest angled away is not a rejection, it's a boundary, a subconscious measure of your emotional presence and reliability. The hug is also her emotional barometer. She gauges not only who you are in the moment, but who she believes you could be in her life. A woman unconsciously uses your energy, your steadiness, and your presence to decide if closeness is safe. She measures whether she can rely on you when she is vulnerable, whether your emotional equilibrium will support hers, whether she can trust you with the softer parts of herself. A hug becomes a snapshot of emotional truth. Every second, every nuance, every subtle shift tells her something about your emotional composition. She is assessing patience, gentleness, strength, and calmness. It is all happening beneath conscious thought, and most men remain blind to it, overanalyzing their words instead of feeling the truth she communicates physically. The pressure of her hands, the tension in her arms, the subtle movements in her chest and shoulders, all of these are signals in the test. If she holds you lightly but steadily, she is gauging your reaction, testing whether you respond with composure or impatience. If she leans in, lets her body soften, and mirrors your energy, she feels stability and safety. If she stiffens or pulls back, she is signaling caution, measuring if you can handle emotional reality without breaking the fragile trust she extends through touch. Each hug is a controlled experiment for her subconscious, and men rarely see it for what it is. Understanding this changes the way men experience connection. A hug is not casual, it is a diagnostic tool, a silent evaluation of your emotional presence. The man who recognizes this can respond with awareness, with calmness, and with the presence required to meet her energy. This is not manipulation, it is alignment. She tests not because she doubts you consciously, but because her body is wired to measure who is safe, who is steady, and who is capable of carrying emotional weight. To fail this test is not about words, it is about energy. To pass it is about presence. When a man grasps that a hug is a test of emotional presence, he begins to understand why some embraces feel warm and connecting, while others feel distant or tense. He learns that her subconscious is evaluating him constantly, that her body is the messenger of truth, and that her responses are clues to her trust, attraction, and readiness to connect. The hug becomes a conversation without words, a revelation without speech, a test where the results are revealed in micro moments of touch, breath, and alignment. Recognizing this transforms the way men approach intimacy, presence, and emotional connection, giving them insight few ever achieve. Every detail of a woman's hug carries meaning. It's not just the embrace itself, but the subtle, almost invisible cues that reveal how she truly feels. Men often overlook these signals, focusing on words or assuming that all hugs are the same. But in reality, the smallest adjustments, how she places her hands, the pressure she applies, the angle of her chest, the tension or softness in her arms, communicate volumes about her emotional state and her perception of you. These nuances are not accidental. They are her body's language, a map of her trust, vulnerability, and desire. When her hands stay light and barely touch your back, it's not a casual gesture, it's caution. She's holding back, evaluating, testing whether you can handle her emotional depth without judgment or misunderstanding. Her nervous system is alert, scanning for your reactions, your steadiness, and your presence. This light touch is a signal that she's curious, that she feels something but is unsure. She's letting you in, but slowly, in increments, measuring how you respond to her vulnerability. Men who dismiss this as just a hug miss the emotional story being conveyed in those brief, gentle touches. A firm press of her palms into your back communicates something different entirely. It signals grounding and connection. Her body is telling you she feels safe with you, that she trusts you enough to lean into your presence. This pressure is not calculated, it's instinctual. She's revealing that her nervous system has assessed you and decided that in this moment she can relax and allow her guard to drop. The firmness in her hands shows her readiness to connect, her willingness to engage with emotional closeness, and her subconscious acknowledgement of your stability. This is a level of intimacy that cannot be faked, and men who understand it recognize the depth of trust being offered. The placement of her hands also matters. If they slide lower on your back, it's a gesture of vulnerability. She is seeking emotional closeness, signaling that she wants to be grounded by you, to feel secure in your presence. This is not sexual, it's intimate in a human, emotional way. She is extending herself, opening a part of her heart that is rarely shown, and trusting you to meet it with care. A light touch higher up communicates caution, firmness in the middle shows trust, and a lower steadying touch reveals emotional vulnerability. Every shift is a roadmap to her feelings, her level of comfort, and her willingness to invest emotionally. Even the hesitations in a hug matter. A quick release, a slight pullback, or a pause before letting go can reveal conflict, fear, or emotional complexity. She may feel deeply attached but afraid to show it. She may care intensely but worry about overextending herself. These micro moments are the unspoken dialogue of her inner world. Men who notice and respect these nuances gain insight into her emotions, rather than projecting their own assumptions onto the hug. The subtlety of these details is what makes them so powerful. They are a window into her subconscious mind, her emotional reality, and her level of trust with you. They are the signals most men never learn to read. Yet for those who do, every hug becomes a conversation of truth. Understanding these small cues allows a man to respond appropriately, to mirror her energy, to provide reassurance, and to deepen connection without a single word being spoken. Every detail in a hug is purposeful, intentional, and revealing, and the man who sees it gains insight into her emotional blueprint and the true state of her heart. Hugs evolve over time, and understanding that evolution is key to seeing the truth behind a woman's feelings. Every embrace is a snapshot of the moment, but when you pay attention to how her hugs change, you uncover a deeper story, one about trust, emotional investment, and attachment. A woman's hug is not static. It grows or retreats depending on how she feels about you, how safe she perceives your presence, and how much of herself she is willing to reveal. Men who fail to notice these shifts often miss the trajectory of her emotions, interpreting each hug in isolation rather than as part of a larger narrative. The shift in a hug carries significance that far outweighs the words exchanged. If she used to hug you briefly and stiffly, but now allows herself to linger, soften, or relax against you, it is an unspoken sign of growing trust and emotional comfort. Her body is showing you that your presence has become a source of safety, that she is beginning to lower her defenses, and that her nervous system now feels grounded when you are near. These subtle shifts are a measure of her attachment, revealing that she is investing emotionally, even if she has not said a word about it. Conversely, if a hug that once felt warm and steady now becomes light, distant, or hurried, it is not random. She may be pulling back emotionally, protecting herself from potential disappointment or hurt. Her body is communicating caution, signaling that something in her perception of you or the relationship has changed. This retreat is not necessarily about anger or rejection, it is a subconscious recalibration of her trust and comfort. Recognizing these changes allows a man to understand her emotional boundaries without forcing her to articulate them, providing insight into the unspoken dynamics of connection. The evolution of a hug also reflects emotional alignment over time. Early in connection, a woman may hug cautiously, testing your steadiness, reading your energy, and measuring your presence. As her trust and attachment grow, the hugs become more fluid, relaxed, and natural. She mirrors your emotional energy, allowing herself to be seen more fully, revealing vulnerability through softness, lingering, and subtle pressure. Each hug becomes a live indicator of her internal state, a reflection of how her heart and nervous system are responding to the man she is embracing. This dynamic nature of hugs makes them powerful tools for understanding female psychology. Words can be filtered, texts can be edited, and gestures can be misinterpreted, but the evolution of a hug cannot lie. It shows progress, hesitation, attachment, or retreat in ways that are instinctual and unfiltered. By observing how her hugs change over time, a man can track the trajectory of her emotional investment, seeing where trust is building, where hesitation remains, and where attachment is solidifying. Men who learn to notice these patterns gain clarity that others never do. Each hug is a barometer of her feelings, each shift a chapter in her emotional story. Understanding this evolution gives insight into her subconscious mind, her trust levels, and her readiness for deeper connection. It is a language written not in words but in touch, pressure, and timing. A language that, when read carefully, tells the full story of how she feels, how she perceives you, and how her heart is responding over time. Men who feel rather than overthink a hug gain an advantage few ever understand. Most men approach interaction through logic, dissecting words, replaying phrases, analyzing intentions, but a woman's hug is not a logic puzzle. It is pure emotional communication, a bridge between her subconscious and yours. The man who tunes into that energy, who feels it fully without trying to rationalize it, taps into a level of connection that most never experience. Her body speaks before her words do, and her truth is revealed in micro moments: pressure, timing, angle, warmth, hesitation. To notice these cues, to respond with presence rather than mental commentary, is to understand her at a depth that words cannot reach. Feeling rather than thinking requires a shift in awareness. Instead of asking, "Does she like me?" or "What does this mean?" a man tunes into the energy of the embrace. He observes without judgment, listens without expectation, and mirrors the emotional state she is offering. When a woman hugs in a way that is soft, lingering, or slightly hesitant, she is revealing something about her internal world: trust, attachment, curiosity, or vulnerability. The man who responds to these signals with calmness, steadiness, and grounded presence reinforces her sense of safety, amplifies emotional intimacy, and deepens connection without a single word being exchanged. This ability to feel also allows a man to notice changes and patterns over time. He sees when a hug shifts from brief to lingering, stiff to soft, hesitant to warm. Each evolution tells him where her emotional investment lies, whether she is opening up, pulling back, or testing boundaries. Men who overanalyze often miss these subtleties, interpreting each hug through the lens of fear, desire, or ego. But the man who feels rather than thinks experiences the moment in real time, comprehending her emotional state intuitively. He becomes aware not only of her trust, but of the rhythm of her attachment, the level of vulnerability she offers, and the degree to which she feels safe with him. Presence, not analysis, is the key. She doesn't need you to interpret her words or rationalize her gestures. She needs you to be steady, aware, and responsive in the energy you bring. A hug becomes a mirror, reflecting the emotional temperature of the room, the connection between two nervous systems. If you are grounded, calm, and confident, she feels it instantly and allows herself to lean in, to soften, to trust. If you are anxious, distracted, or tense, she senses it immediately and instinctively holds back. The man who feels this and meets it with balance gains a level of influence and intimacy that cannot be achieved through logic alone. Feeling rather than overthinking also teaches patience and respect. It allows a man to honor her boundaries, recognize her vulnerabilities, and respond in a way that validates her emotional reality. He is not trying to manipulate, persuade, or decode. He is participating fully in the exchange, present to the truth she is offering through her body. This creates safety, comfort, and deeper emotional resonance. Ultimately, the man who masters this sees the hug for what it truly is, a living, breathing message of trust, attachment, and emotional alignment. He understands her in ways words cannot capture, responding to energy rather than assumption, presence rather than speculation. By feeling her rather than overthinking her, he gains clarity, connection, and a profound understanding of the unspoken truths she communicates in every embrace. It is in this awareness that the bridge between her world and his is built, a connection most men never even notice exists.